People have told me it's not professional. So.
It is professional. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Daily Attorney. You just caught us in mid-chat. Anyway, as you know, at The Daily Attorney, we talk to women attorneys all over the United States who are amazing at what they do inside and outside the legal profession. As you know by now, we are celebrating Haitian Flag Day, and we are doing that by interviewing Haitian women attorneys for the entire month of May. So our guest today is Alexandra Stephanie Audate, the owner and managing attorney at Aude Law Group. After years of working at Catholic Legal Services, she decided to go into private practice and focus her practice on providing representation to queer and transgender immigrants and to immigrants struggling with serious illnesses. She has branded herself as your queer migration attorney. And she has dedicated her life to advocating for members of the LGBTQIA plus community in and out of the courtroom. She has extensive experience representing immigrant clients in federal and state court. She is a proud member of the Black Lives Matter Alliance of Broward and the lead person for their Repeal Stand Your Ground Florida committee. She also sits on the board of directors of the Haitian Lawyers Association, and in her spare time, she enjoys painting, traveling, and reading books about history and Black feminism. She is fluent in English, French, Creole, and Spanish. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for just being here. Excuse me, why did I call you Stephanie? Alexandra, for being here. I literally just got a text message from my friend Stephanie, and I'm like, don't look at it, don't look at it, don't look at it. That's why. Thank you, Stephanie, for that. Anyway, thank you again for being here with us to celebrate Haitian Flag Day with an insightful and funny podcast where we get to know you and what makes you you. Thank you again. I am so going to give my friend for sending me a text. By the way, when you're live, all sorts of stuff happen. We've had dogs, we've had sirens, we've had music, we've had tech difficulties, we've had all sorts of stuff. But anyway, Alexandra, thank you so much for being here with us to celebrate Haitian Flag Day.
Woo-hoo. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I know we were talking a little bit backstage where you were referring to your 93-year-old client who you just took through the entire naturalization process. So I really, really want to start with that because like I told you, I'm an immigrant, you're an immigrant, and, the process can sometimes be friendly or not friendly depending on who you are and, what country you're coming from, right? So please walk us through how your 93-year-old client got through naturalization.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, her process wasn't unfriendly. It was just impressive that somebody her age could have that kind of memory. And, when you get your interview notices, you usually get a couple of months sometimes to prepare, but we received her interview notice late April for an interview today. So she only had about 15 days and 100 questions to study to be ready. Gosh. And she did it. She did it. And, you go to your interview, you get 10 questions, but you only need to get 6 out of 10 right. And she got the first 6 right. So she didn't even get to 10 questions because she got it all right, and everybody was impressed. It was a beautiful moment.
That's amazing.
As an attorney, those are the moments that really make kind of your career, right? Like I don't think I'll ever forget just how beautiful it was to see someone her age, and she's vibrant, she has good memory, she was just amazing.
That's amazing. So someone who is 93 years old, how long does the government kind of take? Like, is an application like that expedited, or does it just go through the regular queue with everybody else?
There are no special treatment for people who are 93 years old, but there are some exemptions for people who have disabilities. But she is not a disabled 93-year-old. She's vibrant and has excellent memory. So we couldn't in good conscience get an exemption for her, because a medical doctor simply wouldn't sign off on something like this. So she had to actually study. And
wow. That's amazing. And I know you said backstage that she just had a really profound effect on the individuals that were at the facility. They were probably like blown away, right?
Yeah, everybody was just so impressed by her. And, because of COVID regulations, they don't allow anyone but the applicants, but they did do a slight exception for her and allow her daughter to witness the moment. So it was
Oh,
just beautiful. It was just beautiful, to have her daughter there and see her mom just swearing in and doing the whole thing. So it was a beautiful moment. It was a
do
beautiful
you
moment.
ever get I love talking to immigration attorneys, by the way. I think you guys have the best job. You really, really get to kind of not only know your clients, but change their lives and everyone else that comes down the line, right? That's
Yes.
huge. And I think that that's a lot of responsibility. So how did you make a decision to get into the immigration field, right? Because as you know, there's many, many different areas of law. And I believe there's a shortage of immigration attorneys. So how did you make the decision and say, you know what, this is something that I'm passionate about?
I honestly didn't choose immigration. In a lot of ways, it chose me. I went to law school because I wanted to get into policy work relating to immigration, but not actually practice immigration. But when I came out of law school, I was like, well, you know what? If you're gonna be wanting to have policies that benefit immigrants, you kind of gonna have to know what the process is like. So the plan was to maybe for a year or two, do immigration and then transition to that. But 8 years later, countless wonderful events, weddings. I've been to law school graduations, to undergraduate graduations. Here I am still going at it. But yeah, last year I got to go to a law school graduation for
That is amazing. That is such an amazing thing.
we're not colleagues.
That is amazing. Like that is such a feel good. There are areas of law that you can practice that really is a feel good area. And I think immigration and adoption law, even patent and trademark, when you have a client who, they're working on something and you get to have them protect it, like that's big too. So I think there are just some areas that are feel good law. And you're all smiley and you're bubbly and you're happy. So clearly it's the best area for you.
It's
Um,
working so far. It's working.
Good. Well, I mean, 8 years is a long time. 8 years is a long time for it not to work. So talk to us, about the process of, opening your own business. Like, how was that like?
Um, Opening my own business
Mhm.
was a bit of a journey for me, honestly.
Mhm.
And part of it is really because and I'm gonna get, because I'm very me, right? So it
Yes.
really it really is, um a lot of imposter syndrome, internalized, um a lot of internalized self-doubt, because like, as a black woman, as an immigrant black woman who speaks with an
Yes.
accent, can I really do this? Are people going to actually even want services from me when there's like other lawyers who don't speak with an accent, who are not black, who are not fat,
Yep.
who are not
Yep.
this, who are not that? You tell yourself all these things, and you're like, are people even going, is the phone gonna be ringing? Like,
Yep.
because you really want to take a chance of yourself. And I worked for Catholic Charities, and I love Catholic Charities because the training you get there as an attorney is
Hmm.
amazing. Like, you leave there and you feel like you know something. And I really felt like I knew something. Now, the something that I knew is, was it something that people were gonna be willing to pay for? And that's really where, like, the fear was. So I actually started out partnering with somebody, and
Hmm.
it kind of fell through. And I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I had a lot of hiccups along the way. Like, can I really do this? Should I take a chance on myself? Even deciding on an office space was like a nightmare for me. I was like,
Really?
can't pay for this place. Like, it
Hmm.
was so hard. Like, thinking, are you gonna be able to make it? And I've been on my own now for 4 years, and I can genuinely say it's all a lie. Like, it's all a lie that you tell yourself. It's all a lie, but it's not a lie that is rooted in something nonsensical. It is real.
Yeah.
Like, the way we are socialized and the way self-doubt like sneaks into our lives because of that socialization is real. Like, you really doubt your capacities, and so you can really do it. Every business starting out is hard, and starting a law firm is no different. But if you
Mhm.
persevere we do it, the phone is gonna be ringing. The door is, I can't even get my clients to leave me alone on Sundays. They call the office phone all the time. They call my cell phone. They call all sorts of things.
Well, clearly, if you're getting, invited to different functions, they're not leaving you alone. No, you're their attorney for life, and it's the best. I've had, clients from 2017 when I first opened my doors, and it's just been like, wow, and every year they call me, hey, Marie, need you to review and prepare my taxes, and I need this, and my friend needs, and I'm like, you still remember me, your clients essentially become family, right? And friends. And it's just such an amazing thing. And I think that's the best trade-off that we could ever have as attorneys. For all the hard work that we do, we have clients that truly care and appreciate. And it's not just a transaction, it's a relationship. Right. So I think that's definitely huge. So, and if I'm looking down, because I'm taking notes, because I wanted to ask you about this. You said that, so I wrote down 5 things, and I know we can't talk about all 5. I would love to take up all your time, but I can't do that. The first thing I definitely want to ask you about is the policy work. What made you decide because technically you're doing a lot of policy work right now, right? You're embroiled in, fighting for LGBT immigrants and just LGBT individuals, in general, which is amazing as a member of the LGBTQIA plus, how many acronyms, letters we have. Myself, it's always nice to have people, especially, people from immigrant countries, who understand that this is a very special, in a sense, very special population that just gets, marginalized for no reason at all. The second thing that you stated was that, you talk about working at Catholic Charities. So in that, I mean, I'm hearing a lot of policy work in Catholic Charities, in the organizations, in HLA, all the things. So what made you decide to kind of like branch away from that, but then still enter that area in the first place?
I never branched away from policy work. It's just that policy of respectability is never something that suited me. So entering into politics, because when you're entering policy, I never wanted to be a politician. But when you are entering into policy work, you are entering into politics. And I am I do what I want kind of girl. Okay. I do what I want in my family. My family's over me with my I do what I want. Everybody, my friends are over me. Everybody's over me. Like, they're over the like, girl, do you ever try to go with the flow? Like, do you follow people ever? Like, no, that's so fun.
No. You don't need to follow anyone but you and who you are. And, and I'm so sorry to interrupt this, but it's amazing that you said that, because even the color of your hair, right? Like, we're attorneys, and it's like, we have to think about, is the color of my hair okay? Am I wearing my lipstick too loud? Is my outfit this? It just, what does that have to do with being a human being who's doing amazing work? Like, for me, the two, does that make sense?
Of course it does, certainly. I mean, but I always tell people, I did worry about the color of my hair. I worried about whether I was gonna like it. I don't even care what people think. Like, and even today, and I think today was a really wonderful day for me in my office. We had 3 hearings and everything went well at all 3, and then we had our naturalization interview that went amazing, as I just told you. And one of the judges love me. They respect me because they know I am about my work. I'm going to come prepared. I'm going to do what I do. And one of the judges was like, yeah, I almost didn't recognize you, because every time you come, your hair is a different color. It's a different color. I said, you know it. I'm going to bring it. He said, yeah, it always looks good. I said, correct. And everybody was looking at me like, especially some of the Black people who were there, because, a lot of us in that space, in the legal space, we really buy into respectability politics. We really buy into you have to wear the dark suit, you have to wear the toned down things, you have to disappear and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, when I arrive to present my client case, I have arrived. Okay.
I hear that.
Wholesale.
Let's go, Alexandra.
I'm not trying to change. I like it. I really like it.
But what you just said is exactly, to be honest, and I hate to admit this, that's how I used to think. I used to feel that I needed to shrink myself in order to make other people, happy or comfortable. And, if you ever met my sister is you. Like, she's just, listen, I'm walking in, everybody is looking at me. She actually just texted me. These people text me during this broadcast. She's like, your hair looks amazing. But thank you. Like I told you, I did it myself this morning. I started last night, ended probably 30 minutes before I broadcast. So thank you. But, she, like you, walks into a room and you come in and you have that presence. You have an amazing aura and an amazing presence. But for people like me, I always thought, well, let me blend in. Let me sit in the back. Let me not talk too much or not talk too loud. But I had business coaching with a coach, and I remember she was also like that. And now, like you can't put her in a box. You can't label her anything other than who she is. And so I've started kind of coming out of that and just saying no to things I just don't want.
Correct.
And before, I used to be that person that's just like, oh, well, I want to do this because this person said no. The answer is no. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. And being an attorney, you have to dim, it almost seems like you kind of have to dim that light in you. And like you said, disappear. But at the same time, you have proven that you are about your work, and the color of your hair has nothing to do with you being able to win emotion.
Correct.
It just doesn't, so yeah, it doesn't. But we tell ourselves, another thing you stated was, we tell ourselves a lot of lies. What was one of the biggest lies you essentially told yourself, other than, your practice, but just being a business owner? What was one lie that you told yourself, and then ultimately you said, nope, I'm going to shift this and I'm going to do this differently?
I think the biggest lie I told myself was that I could do this work without help.
Oh,
It really is true. And it also goes back to fears about finances, but also now be socialization as a Black woman, feeling like you have to do it all. And I'm like, I actually really like rest. I like the beach. I like happy hour. And I like Netflix. Okay.
yes.
I
Yes.
like the Netflix.
I do too.
I watch Bling Dynasty. Okay. I like Real Housewives. You know? So, yeah, like the biggest lie is try to hoard all of that money. And that also comes sometimes from insecurities around being immigrant, right? If we're really, really honest, a lot of us as first generation immigrants or even second generation immigrants, or immigrants ourselves, we really want to hoard as much cash as we want because we want to have a life that we know our parents, our ancestors, like so many people dreamt of. So it's like, okay, if my firm is bringing in $750,000, I can, or $1 million, I can hire help and bring home $400,000 and be happy and well rested, or I can fight to do it by myself and like
Yeah.
die.
You fight.
Right?
You do. And thank you, Pascal. She says she loves the energy. That's my sister, by the way. You see, even her picture is extra. You guys are just so extra. I love it.
It's not extra.
It is. You guys are absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I love the positivity of, what you're bringing in. And I firmly think that, HLA is the Haitian Lawyers Association is really lucky to have, all of the guests that I've had on this week, this month have been from HLA. And it's been amazing. Like, you guys just bring in an aura, a uniqueness, a positivity, the level of knowledge that everyone has. I'm just like, mind blown. And I know that you stated that you don't need any help, but you do, right? And
Correct.
you realize that. And I struggled with the same thing. I was like, I got this. I can do this. I can do that. And lately I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not playing it safe anymore. I'm not. Everything has worked up until now. It's going to work in another 5 years, So I definitely agree with you on that. So and I know I had questions. We totally went away from them. What made you decide to, advocate for members of the LGBTQIA plus community, and immigrants at that, and even like Black Lives Matter? Like, if you don't mind talking to us about that, I know that those are heavy areas, but they do interest me.
Yeah. So let's go in reverse order, right? Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Actually, what I tell people all the time, my mom was a unionist. She worked for a union back in Haiti. So I never really stood a chance, right? I always was involved in community organizing. I was a kid. And, I have to say my parents were extremely privileged. I grew up very, very privileged in Haiti compared to most people. But yet I was a kid who used to go into what people will call slums, poor areas, and do education, And I remember my mom saying, and we used to do HIV education, voting awareness, civics, and stuff like that. And I remember my mom sitting with her colleagues and saying, y'all, you can't tell someone to go vote when they're hungry. We have to organize around food security, housing security, and other things as well, because the things that we're saying are good, but nobody wants to listen to it if they're hungry. Nobody wants to listen to it if they don't have a place to stay. So this is the lens with which I came to the United States. And my mom did live in the US for some part of her college education as well. So I remember saying, like don't listen to anything will tell you about land of the free and all that. There are a lot of things that are very messed up with this place.
Yes.
And
yes.
like on one of them is the way that Black people are treated here.
Yeah.
And so I remember the first time I spoke to somebody who was Haitian about that. And I made a lot of friends who were from the Caribbean, we flocked together, Haitians, Jamaicans, all of that. So, and I remember telling them about it, and they were like, no, like the police, like these, like they seem in their mind to have differentiated between the plight of Black immigrants and Black American people, and somehow kind of believe almost that Black American people must have done something wrong. Right. And it's so hard to try to explain that to them. Like the fact that there is no racial disparity between us and the police where we come from, right? The fact that the police where we come from has nothing in their mind creates prejudice based on our skin tone. Because we're all the same, we all look the same. I've never met a cop who was white in Haiti. I've never even met a cop that was light skinned, to be honest with you. So all the cops that I knew were brown skinned and dark skinned people. So for them to look at somebody and be like, oh, because you're Black, you're this, is something that never even crosses their mind, because there's nothing in their mind that can process that. Somebody and their skin color and wanting immediately thinking danger, 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 or whatever the police thinks when they murder Black people. I really don't think. I should probably offer a content warning as I'm saying. And so when I got involved in Black Lives Matter, it really was wanting to offer that perspective to Black immigrants. And then I realized that on the flip side was also true. People who had the privilege of citizenship didn't understand what it was like to be a Black immigrant. So it was kind of juggling both sides. It's like, yeah, you're talking about criminalization of Black people, but you have no idea what happens to Black immigrants. After the police criminalizes us, ICE comes and get us. And that's also important.
And they take us right back. Yeah.
And deport us to places sometimes that we've never been to. I mean, I've had kids who come here when they were like 2 months old who got deported. Like, this is something that's important. These kids don't know these countries they're being sent to. They are as American as you are.
Do you have, because I think we have a unique perspective being immigrants who are also Americans, who are also attorneys and women, right? We have so many different layers. Right. Like so many layers. Do you find that you are able to understand both sides? Because I actually understand both sides. Like I understand, the U.S. citizen privilege side, and I understand the immigrant side.
I don't know that I understand it, but I see how they reach that conclusion is what I would say, because there's nothing to understand when these things are the products of white supremacy, right? Like both sides, in conclusion, believe the things that they believe because white supremacy has done a number on them.
Right.
So I do see how white supremacy has done a number on our people. But it is not justified. I don't understand it. But again, white supremacy has been hard at work for centuries. So
But
my
that's the thing. It's kind of difficult to undo something that has been ingrained in people's minds. And it doesn't even have anything to do with race, right? It could just be, look at women. Women, as
all of
we've
it.
grown up, right? If you look at social media, you look at movies, TVs, we're taught to look a certain way, talk a certain way, act a certain way, blah, 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 all that, right? Um, and the people, the women who don't fall into those norms, they're considered rule breakers.
Yeah.
And you've seen just generations upon generations kind of just following blindly. And I think that because children are not born racist, they're
No,
taught,
they're
right?
not.
So
There is homophobic, transphobic, all of it.
right, right, it's all taught. And for me, it's a matter, and I wrote down and circled understanding, because you talked about that earlier. I feel understanding people, understanding who they are, what makes them unique, where they're coming from, is it will make whatever fear you have a lot less scary
Yeah.
and irrational if you realize that it's based in nonsensical ideas.
Yeah.
So and thank you for that. I didn't mean to kind of turn this, but I was really interested, because I've never interviewed nor talked to someone who's involved in the BLM movement in any part of the country. So I think that that's very enlightening. Now, as far as your trans community and your LGBT work, what made you kind of dive into that area?
Well, it's a couple of things, right? As a queer and identifying person myself, I was like, where do we find respect in representing these people, right? And I
Okay.
mean, these people, I mean, LGBTQ plus population and persons with disabilities too. And I'm gonna tell you why I wrap them both together,
Okay.
right? Um, I I am, for the most part, perceived as an able-bodied person, right? But I do struggle with some health problems, and I
Okay.
have many members of my family who are disabled, physically disabled with visible disabilities. Um, and in my conversations with them, I realized that two things happen, and it happens in both communities, in the disabled community and in the LGBTQ plus community. People who present themselves as people who want to hide their
Mhm.
realities are applauded, are respected, and people who are unashamed and unafraid and who live openly and visibly
Yeah.
are often regarded as almost offensive.
Right.
And I remember very early on in my career, my aunt that I love very much, who's a medical doctor, became disabled after she was shot in Haiti, Haiti, with
Right.
insulin problems and other things. And she was very vocal about accessibility. She was like, I don't want to stay home. I want to work. I want to be in a clinic. I want to be in a hospital. But the beds are not accessible. The hospital rooms are not accessible. The clinics are not accessible. And she became kind of like a little bit of a warrior on her own almost, because, Haitian people, they don't know how to advocate for themselves a lot of times, especially Haitians with disabilities. They kind of put themselves in a corner and barely engage and participate in society. And I've seen that people who are queer identifying is the same way. People are like, yeah, you can be gay, you can be trans, just do that over there. Don't
Yeah.
bring it over
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, bring it over here. We want it all over here, because we are who we are, and we all belong at the table.
Yeah.
And when I started to engage in this work, I realized how grateful people were, simply because my intake forms did not have salutations. It did
Yeah.
not have gender male female. It had gender dash. I remember talking to an attorney like, how do you make an inclusive practice? What do you put for gender? I said, I don't. I just put dash. I let them fill it in. She was like, oh, I was like, yeah. Can you imagine? I didn't give them an option. I just put a dash, and you just fill whatever you want. And you're like, I never thought of that. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really that simple, right? You're
Yeah.
like, pronouns. Do you put she, her, they, them? What do you put? I said, I just put a dash. I
Yeah.
really just put a dash. And I let the person put whatever they put. And once they put it, I read it and I put it in my mind. I'm like, I
Yeah.
would say that,
Yeah.
and it's so easy, yet it seems so complicated, because again, we have less socialization and things that we've been taught made us feel like things are supposed to be this way, because no, nothing is supposed to be any kind of way. Anything
Yeah.
can be adjusted, anything can be changed, anything can be reformed. All people deserve respect. As far as I'm concerned, the only way you're gonna lose my respect is by doing something that is unethical
Yep.
or sexist, racist, transphobic, violent. Like otherwise, I really don't. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yep. You stay over there, I'll stay over here. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, I love that. I think, inclusivity is very, very important. We all need someone and others to relate to, but more importantly, our opinions are not always going to match, right? I feel like the way we make our communities and our families better, and just the way we grow as individuals, is by learning what makes Alexandra Alexandra, or what makes Marie Eve Marie Eve. Because we're from two different backgrounds. Yeah, we're from the same country, but we're from two different backgrounds. So ultimately, I think that my perspective on the world will kind of broaden and change if I meet more people that do not think like me. There's nothing wrong with that.
Really
We
does.
can't all agree with each other, and I think as members of the legal field, we all kind of just want everyone to think the same, and we just don't. We were all trained the same, but it's funny that when you meet business owners such as yourself, we all run our practices very, very differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in ways that are unique to us. And I have some lawyers that won't go to lunch with a client, but I would. And I have people like you who are invited to weddings and all sorts of different events. So I think as you stated, to just include members of other communities wherever they're from, I think that would make things a lot easier. But realistically, some people are afraid of what they don't know.
That is true.
That's the other problem. They're afraid of what they don't know, and they don't want to change. But with that, I'm sure we can talk about that all day. I did want to
Okay.
ask you, for you, what is one of those accomplishments that you are just most proud of in your business?
Um, that's such a hard question because there's so many things that I truly truly love,
Absolutely.
and I would say okay, that one is kind of easy, right? I guess it goes back to what we were saying before, is that I never had to change who I was
Mhm.
to be able to do this. And I think that's one of the things I was really proud of, is I was able to market myself as me and get people to buy into me. And I always, when I talk to the people that work with me and really are the backbone of this business, I tell them all the time. And I think a lot of people think that's bad business strategies. Stand up for yourself. Don't let anybody bully you. Be
Yes.
you. Stand up to the
Yes.
client that's being a bully and tell them that's unacceptable and
Yep.
that's okay.
Yep.
If I hire somebody and I train them, I spend time with the people I work with. I believe that they have good judgment. I don't hire people who don't have good judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So I trust you to be able to stand up for yourself and to show up as yourself. Everybody I work with show up as themselves, and I accept them as they are. And we value mental health here. You can
Yep.
take a day off if today is not your day, and that's okay. So I really did it my way, and I'm very proud of that. That I've done it my way every step of the way, and I made it work. Some people might disagree with the way I've done it, and that's okay. I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. It's my business, not yours.
I hear that, and I love that. Bullies in general, people who are rude, we don't deal with that at the St. Eve Law Firm. We
Whew.
we don't. Camille shaking her head. We don't deal with that. No, no. I respect everyone, and if you're going to call my office, you're going to respect us, right?
Correct.
This is an exchange. And, Camille and I have been working together for some time. I have my other colleague, Jaika. It's the three of us. And we, thankfully, we don't come across that often, probably once or twice. But I let them know if someone is rude, you let them know, unfortunately, we can't move forward and just move on. I am not going to, I think as attorneys, we take a lot, and women too. I've gone into courtrooms where, a male attorney won't even, not even looking at me while having a conversation with me, and I'm the counsel, and I'm like, attorney right here, buddy. Hi, how you doing? So we face different types of disrespect. I will not do it with potential clients. I will not do it with clients. I just don't. I don't think anybody has to put up with that, especially in a field where you're coming to us for help. So if you're coming to us for help and you're treating us like shit, I mean, what are you doing? So we definitely don't do that. As far as the languages goes, when I saw the languages, I was like, man, she beat me. Oh my goodness. And we were talking about the Spanish, and I was telling you I speak Spanish also, but since moving to Maryland, I mean, who am I speaking Spanish to? So, you're like losing it, right? So you just have to get refreshers. Even my Creole, I gotta ask my mom to translate some words or something like that. It's just not something that is just like, comes out. So for you, like, how do you keep up with, your Spanish and your Creole and your French? Do you get to practice daily?
Yeah, those are the perks of immigration,
That is
The
true.
practice walks into the office every day. So I get to really just have conversation with people. And what I realize is that clients really do enjoy teaching you, and they
Mm.
do really enjoy if you're honest, because Spanish is not my first language. Sometimes there are words they say and I'm like, what that is? They're like, you don't know that. I said, well, teach me something then. Hope you don't charge because I charge. you know so yeah, they teach me things every day. There are certain words, like I didn't know how to say a formal complaint in Spanish, a criminal complaint, because I didn't learn Spanish within the context of the legal field.
Yes.
The legal
Yes.
words I never knew. I learned them with clients and
Yes.
attorneys who speak Spanish. um,
Yes.
Even Creole, really. That's for Creole at home, but we weren't out here suing nobody in my house.
Right.
Suing in Creole.
But it's true, because it's like, if you're talking to someone, even, we both speak Creole, it's like I'm sitting here trying to think, how do I say someone is suing you? Like, I would literally just say, Omun Apsu, right? It's like, and they'd look at me like, what did you just say? So I definitely get that. And it's the same with Spanish, because I remember the Bienvenidos textbook that we used in high school. It didn't have anything contained in it about, legal and stuff like that. So I definitely agree with you. So let me ask you this one last question. If you were to leave a footprint and an impact on your community, and everyone that has a wonderful pleasure of meeting you and working with you, what would you want that impact to be?
I guess it would be twofold. I would want people to know that kindness goes a long way. Like genuinely being kind to people and really having compassion for them can go a long way. And also that it's okay to be you, right? I always tell people that even if I wanted to be a typical attorney, I couldn't, because the place that sells suits for lawyers don't sell my size, because I've been fat my whole life. So I tried, fat phobia kicked me out. It wasn't me, right?
No.
So you can do things your way, you can be yourself, and you can show up as both stern, determined, and kind, and get the work done. I don't think I've ever raised my voice as any client. I have told some
Yeah.
clients some things with much strictness in my voice.
A little bass in your
A
voice.
little, yeah, a little tone. Giving them a little tone. But I've never raised my voice at any client. I've never disrespected any client. I've had the wonderful pleasure of not having it reciprocated. Um, but I've always made sure that when somebody got out of line, I've demanded respect. But I've always been kind, because it is hard, regardless of the area of law. that you're practicing, if somebody's reaching out to a lawyer, they're probably going to a difficult time. So kindness can go a long way. But don't compromise who you are for anybody. Don't come correct. Better correct them now.
I hear that. Well, and that speaks volumes. You know, I learned a lot about you today, and that really is why I do this. You know, especially female brown women, brown female attorneys. I can't speak right now, or non-binary attorneys. You know, I have to be more cognizant of that, because not all of us, you know, identify as female, right? So you just taught me something today that I do want to change in our intro, to be a little bit more inclusive, even being part of the community. I still, you know, I'm kind of like in my own little bubble, and then I meet people like you who kind of just like burst that bubble wide open. And, you know, for that, I want to thank you. You know, for me, what I'm taking from this is, you know, your passion and your advocacy for inclusion, and, you know, being that beacon of hope and success, not only for your clients, but definitely for your family and your friends, and, you know, everyone that graces your path. So with that said, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today with us, and just hanging and, you know, making us laugh. I laughed a lot, so I thank you for that.
I really don't try to be funny, but people say I'm funny. I don't know why.
Oh, you're definitely funny. You are hilarious. Well,
I'm a big goofball. I love having fun.
Life is too short to be super serious about everything all the time. I too am a goofball. One of my life's missions is to just make people happy, because at the end of the day, I feel like there's so many distractions out there. There's so many negative things to pay attention to. It doesn't, you know, it just doesn't benefit us to kind of be zeroed in on that. Life is too beautiful not to laugh. So with that said, when clients want to reach out, or if just people want to get to know, you know, the firm a little bit more, what's the best mode of communication, or just the best number or email address that they can use to get a hold of you?
Okay, so the best phone number for our office is 833-423-5290. You have to call during business hours, though. You know, I love my Haitian people, but they don't call during business hours. Oh, they don't do that. Oh, so
No, they don't.
and you can send an email to our wonderful office administrator at admin@audatelaw.com. She's fast and swift, and she'll call you. She is amazing. She really is amazing. She's actually sitting not too far from me, so I'm giving her flowers indirectly.
Yes,
She's amazing. She is truly amazing.
That's how JICA is with us. We get rave reviews, and JICA definitely saved my sanity, because mental health, like you said, is important, and trying to do it all by yourself, nope, it doesn't work.
You can't do it.
No, Camille, I know I saw you put up the website. If you can put that back up for us, just in case anybody, you know, wants to reach out. I know there's a lot going on in the immigration world, so I can only imagine what your calendar looks like right now. So thank you again for spending 40 plus minutes with us, making us laugh and thinking about ways to just be more inclusive, and definitely being you. And I love it. Thank you again, Alexandra, for being with us. My name is Marie Eve Nadine Jean Baptiste. I am the owner and CEO of the St. Eve Law Firm, here located in Towson, Maryland. Please follow, like, and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, we're not currently taking any clients right now, but if you need a referral, we will be more than happy to send some info your way. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alexandra.
Bye-bye. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.